Hi, I'm Tim Whitehead. Welcome to this week's Mission Compass. I just went to Montreal, had myself some poutine, some Montreal smoked meat sandwiches. It was wonderful. More importantly, I visited with my good friend Tobe Blakewa. He's involved in Every Home for Christ and BLF, all sorts of outreaches to Quebec. But here on the Mission Compass, we want you to get involved. Listen in, don't change that dial, don't change that stream, whatever you're doing, because you can help in Quebec. If you live in Canada like me, you can do a cross-cultural missions trip without a passport. Listen in, find out where you can fit. Also, Stan Jeter is about to tell us more about how we can use our cell phones to tell God's story. See how accessible missions is? You can do it. Stay tuned. Mission Compass.
For some time, we've been praying, Lord, help us to raise an army of reporters using their smartphones to capture the stories, African stories of God's work told by Africans. That's our goal.
Hello, friend. We're glad you're here today to join us on Galcom's Mission Compass, your guide to the Great Commission. I'm Ron Harris. What does it take to be a missionary today? Well, it may take someone just like you, with the unique skills and abilities God gave you to do your part in the Great Commission. And here's your host, Galcom's Tim Whitehead, to tell you more.
Well, friend, I always look forward to catching up with a good friend, Stan Jeter, founder, director of GNA News, the Global News Alliance, sharing incredible God stories from around the world and helping us get involved in telling those stories. Stan, welcome back to the Mission Compass.
Well, thank you very much. It's great to be with you, Tim.
Well, what story do you have for us this month?
Tim, I've been thinking a lot about Africa. I just got back from a trip to Nigeria. It's a wonderful continent. The church is growing. People are doing amazing things, and we're not getting enough stories out of Africa.
Agreed.
So my passion has been, for some time, we've been praying, Lord, help us to raise an army of reporters using their smartphones to capture the stories, African stories of God's work told by Africans. That's our goal. So I do have a story from Africa. Some of your listeners may know that a terrible conflict has been going on in the country of Sudan. It's been plagued by conflict for many years and oppressive governments, and many Sudanese are fleeing the country by any means they possibly can. And so what's happening now is that a lot of them are crossing the border into Egypt. The problem is there are not enough people in Egypt to help these refugees when they come across. Some of them come across with medical conditions, lacking food, lacking of shelter, of course, and so forth. So here's a story from a Christian agency that's called Help the Persecuted. They've provided medical help, food and water, and along with that, sharing the hope of Christ and offering prayers for everyone they help. So here is the story as told by our correspondent from London, Peter Wooding.
As thousands continue to flee the conflict in Sudan, Christian charity Help the Persecuted has provided vital support to more than 1,000 refugees who've crossed the border into Egypt. The field ministry team set up a medical center at a bus station near the city of Aswan, while also providing food, drink, Christian literature, and spiritual support. Some of their team took great risks to serve as they faced continued persecution for their Christian faith. However, the charity's Daniel Chwai says they are fearlessly helping people arriving in Egypt in desperate need.
They were devoted to helping the Sudanese are coming through despite the fear and despite, being threatened and being persecuted.
And Daniel says they've used every opportunity to share the hope of Christ with many broken lives.
I remember a lady that shared, I lost everything. All that is left is broken. And who can fix my soul? That was something that we could share and say that Jesus Christ will fix your soul.
And Help the Persecuted will continue to stand with the many hundreds of people arriving into Egypt in search of a new life. Peter Wooding, reporting for the Global News Alliance.
It's a kind of situation that's being repeated in many parts of the world today. And I think the church has an increasing role to play in helping those who are fleeing conflict.
You mentioned earlier about we need more stories from Africa particularly, but we need to be telling these stories. And you said part of helping these people in these situations is telling their story, raising awareness. So what do? We've got our cell phone in our hand. Give us another tip about how to be a cell phone evangelist, more than just a news reporter.
Yes, of course, this is a reporter with a purpose.
Yes, well said.
Because we want to tell what God is doing. So one of the tips that I have for your friends who are listening is hold the camera steady and do like one shot at a time and then edit them together. So we say, shoot for the edit. Don't try to capture everything in one sweeping shot where you're moving the camera back and forth and so forth. So with that in mind, my tip for today is to shoot any scene for at least 5 seconds, 5 to 10 seconds.
Okay.
Don't move the camera. Just hold it there and get the scene in front of you. We call that what you're doing is you're picking up primary action. Primary action is the action that takes place in front of the lens. It's not the movement of the camera. That's secondary action. That's what you learn in school, at least. And tertiary action is the kind of movements and stuff you do when you're editing. But shoot for the edit. And in order to have good video to edit, you need to have at least 5 to 10 seconds of any shot, any scene you take. If you're going to pan, that is, move from side to side, start with a 5 seconds of still video and then move your camera. And then hold it for another 5 to 10 seconds at the end, so that when you edit, you have a few seconds at the beginning of a still shot. You have a few seconds at the end of a still shot. You can use either one of those, or you can use the movement in between. So 5 to 10 seconds for any shot that you take.
Excellent. By the time we're done with all these tips, Stan, we will have a degree in broadcast. This has been really helpful. I really appreciate it. Friends, if you want more, gna.news, there is a list of all those tips, how to do this, how to tell God's story, how to be a reporter with a purpose. Stan, thank you so much for joining us again here on the Mission Compass.
My pleasure, Tim.
Can being too strong lead you to a lonely, isolated, exhausted life? I'm Bonnie Sala with Reset. On International Women's Day, instead of writing, "Here's to strong women, may we know them, may we be them, may we raise them," Amy Mahler posted, "Here's to soft women, may we know them, may we be them, may we raise them." A female friend responded, "This is exactly what I needed to read right now. I'm so tired of trying to live up to the strongest women in the world, then feeling like I'm a failure." Can a woman or a man be too independent, too capable, and too resilient? God never asked us to be strong in ourselves. He has always said, "My grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness." A preacher once pointed out, God does not need your strength. He has more than enough power of his own. He asks your weakness. He has none of that himself. And he is longing, therefore, to take your weakness and use it as the instrument in his own mighty hand. Will you not yield your weakness to him and receive his strength? In a chapter called the Faith Hall of Fame, the Bible speaks of people who were used powerfully by God, explaining that their weakness was turned to strength, believing that God would do what he said. No, God never asked you to be strong in and of yourself. Today, know that you can relax, you can soften, you can submit to and depend on the God who gives grace and works best in weakness. I'm Bonnie Sala with Reset. To hear this again, read or share this, or to find more resources like this, visit guidelines.org.
Well, friend, if you've listened to the Mission Compass program at all over the last couple of years, you've heard us talk a lot about our radio outreach in Quebec. And so a month ago, I headed over to Brownsburg, where our first station is, and I stayed with one of the board members of the ministry we're partnering with there, Aujourd'hui l'Espoir. And as I stayed and we talked, I found out about all the other things that are happening in Quebec, in the church, outside of radio. So joining us today from Bible and Literature in French, from Every Home for Christ, from pastor of Lachute Evangelical Baptist Church in Lachute, Toblake, thank you so much for joining us here on the Mission Compass.
Oh, you are so welcome. It's a privilege to be interviewed by you, and hopefully, I can give a clear testimony and a vision for the province of Quebec.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to get you on the program. We've been talking all about our radio, but we haven't really talked about the larger church in Quebec. You're a pastor there. You've been pastoring for years. You speak in a lot of different churches. You're involved in evangelism ministries. What is the state of the church in Quebec?
Well, following the Quiet Revolution in the 1960s, obviously Quebec had a hunger for the gospel. And as a result, in the 1970s and 80s, the churches, evangelical churches, grew because people were so hungry for the gospel. And in the late 80s, early 90s, it started to plateau a bit. But nevertheless, there's still a hunger in the province of Quebec, which constitute less than 1% that would be evangelical in the entire province, which, by the way, happen to be French. And contrary to other parts of Canada, French is the official language of the province. So we work with this, and my dear wife Linda and I have been the privilege of being involved for some 15 years in church planting, and since 2006 been involved with BLF Canada as their director for the ministry in creating relationship with other organizations such as Galcom International and Every Home for Christ, so that we can bring the message of the gospel in many different facets in the province of Quebec.
We talk a lot about unreached people groups here on the Mission Compass. When we say an unreached people group, that's less than 2% Christian. So you're just saying 1% evangelical in Quebec, and doesn't have a mature self-reproducing church is the other kind of qualifying thing, kind of the technical definition of that. So just to give an idea of the need for pastors, when I was with Toe Blake, I had the privilege, and we actually had a lot of fun with it too, preaching in his church. Toe Blake translated for me. But their service was on Saturday because, Toe Blake, your responsibilities with BLF, with Every Home for Christ, you're traveling, speaking in churches all over on Sundays, and you told your church you had to step down. But because they couldn't find another pastor, they said, let's move our service on Saturday so you can continue pastoring. So where do we stand with pastors for churches in Quebec? What is the need?
Well, actually, and I don't presume that it is only a need in the province of Quebec,
That's
but
true.
obviously because we have pastors that's been saved in the 70s and 80s, and now those same guys that went to Bible school has been pastoring for 20, 25, 30 years, well, they are approaching retirement. And as a result, it creates a vacuum of a need for pastors. And we just cannot train a pastor fast enough in order to replace the one that are going into retirement. And that's just to replace them. And if there is a new church that gets started, then obviously we need additional pastor in order to cover those grounds as well. And that's not just with our individual association, it is with other evangelical denominations as well.
Yeah, so friends, we need to be praying because in our conversations, we talked about the response of the Quebecois to the gospel. You just participated in an evangelism event in Montmagny. That's east of Quebec City. So kind of you're in Montreal. So this is kind of the far end of the province. But people are hungry for the gospel. They want to hear more. So there is so much potential because people are coming to Christ. So give us the good news.
All right. Well, I have the privilege of working with a fantastic organization which called Every Home for Christ. And their purpose is to make sure that the message of the gospel is getting to every single home, not just in Canada, but they have many situations across the world where they are seeking to do the same thing. And I am their connection to the province of Quebec. So my goal is to work with pastors that have a vision to reach their communities. And this past year alone, we have done a campaign in Mont-Royal, which is right in the heart of Montreal. And with the local church over there, we had a hope breakfast. And it is interesting that people that received the invitation to come, and they also had the opportunity to receive some literature in addition to what they already got. They are asking for more literature, and some of them even sign in the card and they give their name and addresses so that they can have a personal visit from a pastor. And that was Mont-Royal this week. We just received another 3 people in Mont-Royal, and the campaign took place about a month ago. and they want to have a personal visit with the pastor. It is fantastic what is happening in Montmagny. We just finished this campaign this past week. And over there now, I just got the news that we had just over 50 people that contacted through the website that wants to have more literature, and some 7 people wants to have a personal visit from the pastor. So there is a hunger that is visible, that is tangible, and it is our goal to continue to seed and be persistent so that the message of the gospel will take root in people's heart.
Yeah, it is exciting, and that's why we're so excited to be involved in our little bit with Galcom, getting radio stations out to support the pastors. So people go to church on Sunday, but what happens the rest of the week? Well, we're hoping to get Christian radio so they get built up and discipled, and this process is accelerated. But radio isn't the be all and end all, and I always have to remind myself of that. I mean, this is what we do here at Galcom, but face-to-face relationship building evangelism is the best way. As we spent the weekend together, my French is poor. And I blamed our school system, but I could do better. But is there a role for English-speaking Canadians or Americans to come in and participate, to serve? I mean, this is an unreached people group that a Canadian, we don't need a passport to get there to serve.
Well, actually, you know what? You have hit the nail right on the head, because in the province of Quebec, people from across Canada that happens to be speaking English can actually come and have a cross-cultural experience, and they do not need a passport, at least not yet. So please hurry up and sign in for mission work in the province of Quebec before you need your passport. I'm just joking a little bit here, but it is interesting that we have needs and we like to involve people in those evangelism campaigns. Sometimes it is just putting something in a mailbox, which is an invitation. Sometimes it could be a construction team that comes in at work at a camp in which we are also involved. So there is such a variety of opportunity that if they contact the BLF Canada director, then I will be able to work with the individual or with the church and do a presentation at their church to show them the overall aspect of ministry and opportunities, and they can come to Quebec. I have been working for just over 10 years in synchronizing teams that comes not just from Canada, but from the States. And we have a manual to train people. We have opportunities in evangelism, construction. Sometimes it's demolition before we can construct. And whether you're French or English, you can demolish. You can send a team of young people. And I supervise, I translate, I guide, I tour with them maybe on one afternoon in some cultural event in the city of Montreal. And we provide accommodation, and the costs are very reasonable, because our goal is not to make money, but it's neither to leave a debt to the church that we're trying to help.
Yeah, that's well said.
Just so you know, my dear friend Tim, we now have officially in the process to plant another 4 radio stations across the province of Quebec. And the joy of my ministry in working with different organizations like Galcom International and Every Home for Christ is that once we have a station in place, well, it's great to have a station, a radio station, but if people don't know about it, they're not going to listen to it. So with the ministry of Every Home for Christ, they have a goal to get into every home. We send the literature, the invitation. We ask them to dial into the new radio station in their community. And this way, there is much more connectivity that people can receive the message of the gospel in a variety of ways, through literature, through hearing the word, through the preaching of the word, and invitation to connect to the local churches.
It's all that synergy. Yeah, it's all of it together doing more. And hey, a quick shout out to our friends at Faith Radio in Tallahassee, Florida. You raised funds for one of these first 4 repeater stations that we're applying for now, and a team came up from Florida and served at one of the outreaches, one of the Every Home for Christ outreaches. So you've done it. So big thanks to Scott Beagle and the team at Faith Radio. And so we challenge, hey, other radio stations, help us out, get involved, come up and help and serve alongside Toe Blake.
Yeah.
We do need to mention, there's more though that what you do with BLF. You're doing literature distribution and training in other French language countries in West Africa and Haiti. I really want to encourage people to get involved in Quebec because it is so close, it is so accessible, but give us the whole picture.
Well, actually, when we talk about a third world country, over here we have our computers, we have digitized libraries for pastors to study with. But in third world country, the printed page is still king. So as a result, they do not have the technology that we have. And our goal in BLF Canada, Bible and Literature in French, is to provide resources, whether it is Bible dictionaries, whether it is concordances, Bible itself, or other commentaries that pastors can sit down, prepare sermons, because our goal is to equip pastors, because we are praying that as we equip pastors, then the churches will also be educated in a good, sound theology. So that's our goal. And I myself have been involved in Haiti as well as Togo in training pastor and teaching some courses. And every time we go, we bring a whole set of library that we donate to pastors afterward so that they can right away start in preparing their sermons and studies for their churches.
Yeah, it's a great ministry. So, friends, if you want to learn more about the whole BLF ministry, go to blfcanada.org. And Toblake, there's a U.S. office as well. Do you know the website for the U.S. office?
It is Synergie Francophone.
That's the one for the U.S.?
That is.
Wow, okay.
Well, it's French, my friend.
I was hoping for something a little easier for the English speakers.
Actually, they should be able to find a link for the States as they'll go to the Canadian website.
Okay, so for our friends in the States, if you're thinking, hey, let's do the mission trip, let's go up to Quebec. Wait a minute, you guys are in Togo, you're in Haiti, let's find out more.
Yeah.
Go to blfcanada.org so you don't have to worry about the French speaking. And then there is the link to the US website there as well.
And just a very special prayer request.
Please.
We have been shipping from BLF Europe Sunday school material, 139 bags of Sunday school material for churches in Haiti. The material has arrived in Port-au-Prince, but the post office over there is having problems in bringing it to the north of Haiti because of the political situation and the difficulties with the gangs in Port-au-Prince. So that's a real prayer matter, because that Sunday school material they have been waiting so long for it, and finally it's gotten there, but not quite in the hand of the churches as of yet.
Yes, we'll pray for that before we close today. Friends, I really strongly encourage you to serve God. We visited the camp that you're talking about, and yes, there were some buildings that need to come down and replace with some new dormitory buildings. So yeah, you don't have to be a fluent French speaker. You can serve. That group from Tallahassee, Florida, they went house to house putting on door knockers, hanging little things on doorknobs and letting people know about an outreach event coming up. And they did all of the heavy lifting, moving things, delivering water, all that kind of stuff. You can serve. And Quebec is so close, and it is beautiful. So, Toblake, are there opportunities this year? Like, do you have other outreaches in villages, towns, cities that are coming up through the summer and fall that people could still get up there for?
Yes. The first one would have to do with the camp ministry, because we will need some additional helper. We have the kids, God send the kids. Now we need the monitors, and we need the cook. We need people that actually look after the kids. And if you don't speak French, that's okay, because the people that are there, that are directing it, they're bilingual. So you will not be lost in a camp and be by yourself for a week or two. So there is a critical need right now, because next week we are actually missing some workers with the kids, and we would appreciate it if someone would volunteer. We can fast track the situation, and they would be welcome to come. We have another evangelism campaign in the city of Montreal that is scheduled for the 20th of August. And people could come and see what it looks like and be involved and witness an event such as this, and maybe develop a heart for the province of Quebec and the needs of the gospel. And we are waiting for the approval of the city to have the use of a park where the event will take place. So this is an open air kind of a situation where there will be music, preaching, and testimonies, and people will be there to witness all of this. And the city of Montreal is very much in a festival mood in the summer months. So please pray that we will obtain the permission from the city of Montreal to use the park.
All right. So camp needs right away. August 20th, Evangelism Montreal. blfcanada.org. Even if you're in the U.S., go there first and then click the link to get to the U.S. site. Toblake, would you pray en français for the need in Haiti to get that Sunday school material out?
All right. Seigneur notre Dieu, nous te prions, nous te remercions pour tes bénédictions, pour ce que tu as démontré à travers les mois, les années, ton pouvoir d'accomplir ton œuvre dans le cœur des gens. Et nous te prions, Seigneur Dieu, pour le matériel d'école du dimanche qui s'est rendu en Haïti, mais qui n'est toujours pas à destination, afin, Père éternel, que ton œuvre puisse être accomplie, que ton Église puisse être bénie dans des situations difficiles. Alors, Seigneur Dieu, nous remettons ceci entre tes mains pour l'honneur et la gloire de ton saint nom, nous te prions. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Toe Blake. Friends, contact them today. Let's serve in Quebec. Share the love of Jesus Christ there. blfcanada.org. Toe Blake, God bless you.
Thank you so much, and God bless you too, brother.
Well, friend, we're at the end of our program today, and you've been listening to Galcom's Mission Compass, your guide to the Great Commission. We really appreciate you joining us, and we would like to send you a special gift. Contact us to receive your free copy of our devotional, 30 Days of Faith. Visit galcom.org and click Mission Compass. Fill in your contact info, and we'll mail your gift out to you right away. If you enjoyed today's program, you can listen again at galcom.org or on your favorite streaming platform. Make sure to subscribe, follow, and share. There are many ways to partner with us. To find out more, visit our website at galcom.org. That's Galcom, spelled GALCOM.org. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. I'm Ron Harris. Thanks for joining us today on Mission Compass, a radio ministry of Galcom International.